We're
Yeah,
clearly in a bubble. So after the bubble bursts, there's going to be a lot of consolidation, and the ones that will remain, whether have the financial means to support all these investments, right? Or you have a really, really valuable use case because AI is still a tool, right? So if you're just using AI for the sake of using AI, then you cannot sustain yourself. You need to have a valuable use case. And I think that's where we're going to see the technology mature in the next couple of years. On today's show, we will recap the major AI milestones of 2024, from groundbreaking innovations to challenges shaping the industry's future, from the Stanford AI Index Report 2024. I'm Daniel,
I'm Mateus.
and this is the Human AI Experience. So, the report mentions that AI started like outperforming humans in some tasks, but it's still lagging in a few areas, right? For example, more complex reasoning, even though ChatGPT O1, I guess,
The new
the
one, the
reasoning
strawberry.
model. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still, it has been debunked that it was kind of like not cheating, because when it would put to some stress in some tests to evaluate how big of a reasoning is actually doing, it it basically failed. And then I've seen some papers and some people discussing that because those models have been trained by the whole knowledge of the internet, of course they know the results of this test, so they can just pull their database and then just answer. So it's a fake answer. So they're not
It's a
really
really
clever in
interesting
that sense.
perspective. That's a perspective I never have thought about it, but it makes so much sense. Like they're just copying and pasting, and I'm not like creating a thought around the problem.
Not yet. I think it's just quite it's just because they're pretty good at telling the results and then going over the answers, right? And then because it's language, it's so easy for us to understand, or they can simplify some topics, but that doesn't mean there's understanding there. We're still talking about highly advanced, predictive machines, right? But it's interesting that those things are evolving, and now in the end of the year, now OpenAI has been releasing every day during 12 days a lot of different products,
Yeah.
and one of them is Sora, but we can talk about that later on.
Oh, sorry, it's such an amazing tool. Yeah. So uh, I think it's pretty much complex what you're saying because I never thought about that perspective. Of uh, not AI solving, but just copying the results, which makes so much sense. Like and but I do believe like yeah, I think we already discussed that a lot in the podcast how AI evolved, like how it's really helping us to achieve some good results. For example, if you're writing an email, it's really useful. If you're writing a report and then you need some uh, English spelling check, or other languages spelling check. I think it's really good for this kind of tasks. But sometimes if you, as I said, like if you ask some connections or something that it's quite new, sometimes it kind of freak it out or create these hallucinations. It's quite common to have that. So one recommendation that I have to anyone that wanna use ChatGPT, check everything, like read and reread what you're giving to what you're receiving from the ChatGPT, and then of course complement with your information. Complete with your the things that you are studying about it. So I do understand this quote, that they're not switching us still, in these complex tasks. Yeah,
Those models are pretty efficient, even if they are not super clever or super intelligent. They're already helping us increase our productivity and then clearing us some of time that we would be using with some administrative tasks. So I guess there's a lot of value in there.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think there's a lot of marketing around that, so they're always selling that it's intelligent, and then people are gonna kind of freaking out. I remember the guy from Google that he had to quit the job because he was having super complex and conversations with Gemini, I think. So if you think about it, like it might be just a replication of a lot of topics that the AI have read online, so it doesn't mean that it's becoming real or becoming intelligent. It's just like replicating some standards and patterns that we have around the internet.
So the second topic is around raising costs of training AI models and running AI models. So the cost of training state-of-the-art AI models has skyrocketed this year. Like OpenAI's ChatGPT 4 training costs has was estimated that have cost like $78 million, while Google's Gemini reached 191 million. So that's quite a lot of money without even mentioning all the costs related to running these models. And usually like a Google AI quest search query costs 10 times more than a regular search query if you're doing it with AI. So we're seeing a lot more demand from these models. And this year it has been dramatically increased.
And yeah, the demand of energy increases a lot too. So they expected in the next 5 years we're gonna need more energy sources, so Google, I think, is investing in nuclear power, so that's a big move, so it's kind of understandable that they need to be responsible for that. Because if they are selling this product, they need to create their own energy because the state cannot provide, that much or do big investments without having the return. And I think that it happened to ChatGPT, to OpenAI. They increased the prices of the new ChatGPT to $200. They increased the price of the new tool because of the cost of every query, because of the energy cost, and so they are understanding that they need to make people pay more to use it because it's not sustainable in the long term,
So OpenAI raised by 6.6 billion this year, which is the record of all times of how much money they raised. So there's clearly an indication that this is a massive leap in technology, investing in AI, but at the same time, they were really good at selling something that it's a bit inflated, let's say. There's a lot of, I think most of the advancements in AI today is a bit of pure marketing to make it look like it's a lot more than they actually are. But like we discussed before, we don't need much to have a lot of gain. But these companies, they need to survive and grow, so they will always paint a better picture than reality.
but which is interesting about OpenAI is that they raised like 5 billion, but they have used like 7 billion, I think, to develop the product. Only in 24. So so they're still lacking of money. So they're burning money, to create the models, to train, and to put it to public to make it better, the tool. So it's interesting the perspective, like I want to see what's gonna happen in the next couple of years, because it's not every time that you can raise that amount of money, like without having a sustainable company. So there's this debate, like, and I feel that as we're having the big techs like investing a lot in every big tech has their own model. I want to see how it's gonna be done, like in the next couple of years, because I feel that many of these tools they're gonna die, so they're gonna put a lot of money, and some of them are gonna disappear in the if they're not growing at the same time as the other models, so I think the market is gonna adjust itself, like in the next couple of years, of maybe 5 years.
Yeah, it's the bubble, right? We're
Yeah,
clearly in a bubble. So there's after the bubble bursts, there's going to be a lot of consolidation and a lot of the ones that will remain, whether have the financial means to support all these investments, right? Or you have a really really valuable use case because it's AI is still a tool, right? So if you're just using AI for the sake of using AI, then you cannot sustain yourself. You need to have a valuable use case, and I think that's where we're going to see the technology mature in the next couple of years.
yeah, yeah. But it's always like how the users are doing it, how the public is buying it, and somehow, For example, I use OpenAI, ChatGPT way more than the other models, and I think many of the people that I talk to, they use more ChatGPT than Claude or Gemini or Llama, So I feel that somehow people are tending to use ChatGPT more. So the other tools, they're lacking of people feeding it and creating. So I don't know how much they can survive. How much longer they can survive without having millions or billions of people using it. You know.
Well, it's competition, right? It's important to have that. So
Yeah.
so right now there's big players, all the big tech companies, and it's healthy that there's competition between them.
Yeah.
But of course, OpenAI was the first one. They were the first one to put this out there. Google had a lot of development under the hood, but they didn't release it in time, and then they had to rush. And of course, there was a lot of problems with that. But at the same time, OpenAI had the luxury of being, bringing the early adopters quite early on. So they, of course, created like a pool of users quite right in the
Early.
beginning. So that
Yeah.
gave them an advantage. But again, if something much better than ChatGPT comes along, depending on your use case,
Yeah.
you might migrate. We don't know how this is gonna. I know Claude now can personalize, similar to creating your own ChatGPT, for example. Claude
Yeah.
can add more personalization to the queries. I haven't tested that, but I mean, the others are getting there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And Cloudy, I think it's yeah, but they say good things about Llama too. Like they said that it's really really good. I haven't tried yet, but I've seen a lot of people talking that Llama was the most powerful. And then after that, the cloud released an update, and now ChatGPT, the OpenAI, they're releasing another update. So let's see how the competition.
It's also different, right? Like
Yeah,
Claude and ChatGPT, basically, they do have user or interfaces where you can use them online, right? So they are easy to access. Llama, you have to install it. It's you need to run it on your own machine. So it's an open source model as well. It's a different. It
yeah,
targets different target groups. So I think there's room for everybody. It's just the problem is the cost of these tools and how
yeah. That's
sustainable
the
they
thing.
are.
The cost is the thing that worries me actually about that, because it's a really high cost of training it, and then you need to have clients to pay for that. Not only investors. So that's the the balance that I feel that is missing in the market in general. So that's why I raised this question. But I think we can go to the next topic. What do you think?
So the next topic is about public sentiment and of course regulation. So the public awareness of AI's impact is growing, but it's also generating a little bit of uncertainty and apprehension. Right? Global surveys show an increased nervousness about AI products and services, with 50%, 52% of Americans feeling more concerned than excited, especially around job losses. There's a lot of talk about automatizing a lot of industries and a lot of things, and we have no clue how big of an impact, economically speaking, this amount of job losses can have. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we discussed that like somehow in the podcast, like how people are getting like concerned. I think a lot of the things are about the marketing. They are promoting some things that ChatGPT is gonna program your own app, or is gonna, you know, this kind of tasks that they're promising, but I think we're not there yet. I don't know, even if now I'm questioning myself if we're actually gonna reach that level. I don't think so. I don't think we're gonna reach in such a short time. It's gonna help us doing a lot of tasks, and I think we already experienced that, but not the way they're showing to people or selling to people. So, but I do understand, because if you read a lot of things that they're planning and how they are preparing the models, let's say, the impression is like we're gonna lose our jobs somehow, and at some point.
So I guess that again brings us back to regulation
Yeah,
and how important it is this to safeguard jobs as well, right? So we don't automatize everything and just everything now needs to be done by an AI, right? So that comes regulation also comes to protect some sectors, some people, and some also jobs from that. Safety as well is really important because there's a lot of data and that we already sharing with all these companies, right? And then AI can dramatically increase that. So it's really, I believe it's really important to regulate. And I think in that sense, the EU is leading a bit the conversations at least. Maybe they are sometimes going a bit too harsh or too fast in certain aspects in blocking a lot of things. But at the same time, it's better that they are actually having these discussions than just, wait for something really, really bad to happen to act.
yeah. I think it's important to regulate, and I think now Brazil has released, like, last week, they are voting about regulation and everything. But they actually, one of the points that they had highlighted about the big techs and putting some responsibility on the big techs, of what they're creating and how they took it out. So so the most important topic, they took it out from the discussion, which is kind
Great.
of a and the contrary from from what EU is doing. So I feel that EU is kind of a, you can see that while US are releasing a lot of AI and a lot of things happening, EU is kind of slowing down the process. Even Google, I remember I used to use Google Maps, that just put the address and then Google Maps appeared as the first option. They took it out from the browsers in Europe. And for me, it's something that affects me a lot, because I use, every time I want to move to one place to another, I was using the browser to search it. So I think it's good in some way, because you're regulating, you're concerned about competition, concerned about having everything under control. So I think it's important to have that, even though I like it, the model, the previous model. So yeah, I don't know how US is concerned about that, but I think they're banning now TikTok and stuff. So I think there's general concern about about that somehow.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's at least the report mentioned something about the discussions about AI regulation have been increased in the US as well in the past couple of months. So there's more discussion going on, which is good. But now, just to close our episode, we can maybe just from the top of our minds just mention something that you, for example, you remember being like, oh wow, okay, this is quite an interesting um, AI breakthrough or something that really caught your attention.
Yeah, I feel that this year was quite interesting. Well, one of the things that actually caught my attention is that from the mid of the year until the end of the year, like now we are kind of experience a lot of new launches and new technologies rising. So I'm quite interested to see next year what we're gonna have. Like for example, this new ChatGPT, Cloud. I think they're creating a better model too. So I'm quite interested to test these models. So I feel that the evolution is slowly, but it's constant. Like happening. And I feel that this year was quite interesting to see. For example, the videos, the generated videos. I think they increased a lot of the quality, like in comparison to the previous years. The hands generated by AI, they're getting really good, which I think is an evolution from the previous years. And the images, I think the quality is raising too. So it's pretty much interesting to see that the technology is evolving. So I can see the difference from 2023 to 24. And I'm excited actually to see what's coming next.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the this year was the year of AI generated videos, like in the evolution of that in with different tools, Flux, Runaway, also publishing new models, and then
Sora
you
now.
know Sora now by the end of the year, which I didn't get to test, but I've seen some results and it's quite impressive as well. But Kling, there's so many video tools that are getting better and better. So I agree. This was the year of AI generated videos, and like 2023 was the year of generative images.
Yeah.
But I would like to also mention that in my perspective, I think this year we also started scratching the surface of multimodal uh, AI tools. For example, Google just released 1 week ago, like this week actually, or the week before, like this, they show the model in Google I/O in the middle of the year or in the end of the year, where you basically use your camera to analyze and ask questions, and it just identifies things that are happening in the environment, talks back to you, remember where things are placed. So I think we're also scratching the surface on that, and that's going to be a tremendous, or at least a very interesting technology to, or a way of using AI in a much more useful way, because you can point it elsewhere, and then you can see or ask questions. Okay, what kind of plant is this? And you extract more information. So that I think is going to be very revolutionary. But I think we're just scratching the surface. Apple also announced that they will have Apple Intelligence, where you point the camera and you can ask some questions and get some information, booking some restaurants. So companies are trying to move that way. Meta, in a
Yeah.
much more prototype scale, they also show the glasses, the Orion, I think it's called Meta Orion glasses, where you can also, there's some AI in there. You can also look into things and then identify what they are and then give you more information. So I guess we're going to see more and more of that next year, I guess.
Yeah, and even I think this integration between AI models and smartphones and other devices, I think that's a big step forward, a big step. Uh, Even Elon Musk, he's planning to create a new mobile, and then he will integrate like not only like his new AI model, but the satellite internet, that they have. I forgot the name.
Starlink.
Starlink, yeah. So these kind of things, they're gonna kind of lead the way. So I feel that it makes a lot of sense to put in our mobiles AI, because we already using it in the computer and in other sources. So why not? Why not integrate it? So it makes sense. So I think it's a first step to an evolution of these devices. Maybe,
Yeah, 2025 is looking quite interesting, and I think we're
yeah.
going to see a lot of breakthroughs. But we can talk about our predictions of what's going to happen in 2025 in the beginning of January. So let's wrap up for now.
Happy New Year, everyone. See you in the next year in the next episodes.
Happy New Year. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It's free and helps us a lot. This way, it can help us also reach new listeners. Oh, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to stay up to date on our latest episodes. If you have any questions for us, reach out to us at hello@humanaixp.com or connect with us on Instagram. Thanks for listening. See you next week.